microphone fiend, the 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 microphone fiend.
Hello?
What's up, Home Slice?
Not too much.
Not too much at all?
Not too much at all. Just a day where I don't have to do much, so
I can dig it.
a good thing.
I was contemplating not doing this. I was thinking all day. I was like, man, I'm tired. Well, I don't know why I'm tired. I had like 12 hours of sleep.
That's why you're tired, because you're overtired. That's way too much.
And I worked today. My feet hurt. Jesus Christ. I'm already recording, by the way.
Okay.
Nah, man, it was great, man. I'm fucking, like, I don't know what happened. I think after I got off work, right at the bar that I, like, right across the street from my house, from the place that I work,
Yeah.
on Thursdays, they do, like, dollar domestics.
Yeah.
And I ended up, like, just going over, and I had 3 of them. And it was one, and then one turned into 2 because I was talking to a young lady, and then...
Sure.
Huh?
Sure.
And 2 turned into 3 because I was still talking to her. And then, you know, we ended up leaving, and I came home, and I ate 2, like, really greasy pizzas left over, and I watched NXT, and no diss on NXT.
It sucked.
It's not that I felt it made me fall asleep. I was actually excited because I haven't watched it in a while. So I was watching it, and for some reason, I don't know, it was itis or I was tired because, you know, like, I probably average before going into work probably like between 6 to 5 hours of sleep before getting up and going into work. And but it just all hit me. And I was like, next thing you know, it's maybe 8:30, and I just pass out. And I don't fight it because I stay on the couch. I'm like, all right, I'm going to just take a nap because I was thinking I was going to go out and maybe grab a beer or 2.
Yeah.
Or 12. But I ended up just going to bed. I was like, fuck this. It was like maybe 10 o'clock, and I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. And then I had to wake up at I woke up at 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, all right, that was needed. But I don't know. The weather's great over here.
Yeah, the weather, I mean, Minnesota sucks as far as their winters go, because, I mean, they never go away. But once they do go away, because, I mean, in Minnesota, it can snow, like, late April. Like, we even, I think it was last year, we got snow in May. So you never know what's going on, but as soon as the snow clears, then everything's fine. But
so is there a month you don't get snow?
It's usually supposed to be between May and November. Well, November is when it starts again, so actually May through October is like the nice months. But otherwise, it's just like snow. So.
Wow, I can't stand snow. I mean, I imagine Minneapolis, that's where you at?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's either yeah or no.
No, that's where I'm at.
Are you like on like the outskirts of Minneapolis, like in a small town called, like, I don't know?
Yeah, like Minneapolis is literally like 5 minutes away from where I am.
So where are you?
Huh?
So where are you?
I'm in a town outside of Minneapolis called Oakdale. It's like 5 minutes away from it.
Man, you gotta represent your clique, man. Oakdale represent fuck Minneapolis. You gotta be like that, son.
If I tell someone I'm from Oakdale, they're gonna be like, "Where the fuck? What does that mean?"
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's like saying, like, I live in Greensboro, but it's like Charlotte is like the closest biggest city. I mean, maybe it's an hour, but like people know where Greensboro is. Granted, but let's just say if I was like living in like a smaller town, like outside of Charlotte, I wouldn't be like, "Yo, I'm from Charlotte."
Yeah, but the way I look at it is there's only 2 big cities in Minnesota. So if you don't if you tell someone you're from a small city, they're not going to know what the fuck you're talking about.
That's why you got to educate them. You got to put your fucking click on the map. You got to put on the map. You be like, yo, I'm from Oakdale, son. Don't worry about where it is. Just know it's there.
I suppose.
Yo, so let's go into this shit. Thanks for listening to the first 4 minutes of us jabbering. But you are listening to Peter Talks Wrasslin with, and it's been 2 weeks. So I'm with my old pal Nathan Neumann, and that's Nathan with an A, not an E.
Correct.
And he got on me last week about it, and I didn't care.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, 2 weeks ago, and I didn't really care. So I just brought it up to let.
Because you're a jerk.
I'm not a jerk. I don't care. Because I'm apathetic. I'm apathetic. I'm not a jerk. You, on the other hand, are a nerd.
Whatever, you're a turd, so leave me alone.
I'm not a turd. I ain't no turd. So check this out, right? Let's go ahead and go into this shit because the weather is so amazing, like I said earlier. And by the way, he's from, this guy right here is, what it says on his Twitter is that he's the co-host of Eyes on the Ring Radio, right?
Correct.
But it's like 17 co-hosts.
No, there's not. There's 5 of us.
17? What's the difference?
There's the host and there's the co-host.
All right.
Therefore, I'm a co-host. I hosted a show like 2 weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago with Donovan Dijak. But other than that, I'm a co-host.
See,
so eat it.
So like with me and Jake is not a co-host. I don't have a co-host. It's just me and whoever I decide to talk to.
Wow, you're cool.
That's why it's always Peter. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I'm almost on the brink of turning heel right now. It seems that.
Are you an only child?
No, I'm the youngest of 3, ass.
Damn it. Blows my theory completely out of the water.
I mean, of 2 older brothers, too, that would whoop my ass on a regular basis.
See, and I'm the youngest of 2. There's 3 of us. I'm the youngest of 2 older. I've got 2 older sisters, and there's more to it than that. But I'm. So
it's 3 girls in the family?
No, there's 2 girls, but I'm not. And there's more. There's more to it than that. And it's kind of complicated, so I'm not going to go into that because we're live on the air. I do it often.
We're not live.
I thought we were.
We're never live.
Oh, okay. Well, you can cut this part out then.
I ain't cutting shit out.
Fuck you. Then I'm not going to say it.
Say what?
I don't want people knowing my business. I was going to tell you something, but if you're going to leave it in, then I'm not going to tell you.
All right. See? Now people who hear this, y'all can just tweet and aggravate the living shit out of him until he spills the beans.
And I can block you.
You better hold on to all 12 of your Twitter followers.
I have over 1,000, thank you very much. Almost 1,200. Or actually over 1,200, so.
Well, all right.
Nice try, though.
All right. They're all like fake accounts.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. So.
No, they're not.
Okay, so Nathan is from Eyes on the Ring. So what's going on over there, man? Like, what y'all got going on? Like, anything special, interviews, anything coming up anytime soon?
We did an interview with ACH, Cedric Alexander.
Nice.
We did an interview with Donovan Dijak, who was Ring of Honor's top prospect winner of this year. And then another show that's affiliated under the Elite Podcast Network, Indie Power Rankings. We interviewed Caleb Connolly and BJ Whitmer ahead of Supercard of Honor, which was last weekend. And then True God Immortal, who is the founder of Eyes on the Ring, has some more interviews lined up, but he's not telling me as of yet what is going on because everything's not completely in place. So he's not going to tell me something and try to get my hopes up before it's actually done. So as far as like future shows, I don't know what we're doing.
But you already said enough. Like, that's cool. What you got going on recently? Not coming up, but either way, like, if you're listening, go to Eyes on the Ring. I listen to them on Stitcher. So on Stitcher, what else?
Oh, you actually listen to us?
Yeah, every once in a while when I get the time.
Okay, cool.
What was it?
And then you can.
Like Stitcher Radio. I listen to the Stitcher Radio, and then where else can you listen?
You can listen blogtalkradio.com/Elite Podcast Network.
Okay.
Or actually Elite Podcast Net. And then everything is available though on if you go to eyesonthering.com.
Okay. All right. And so let's start off with the meaty shit. A third ROH, speaking of ROH, a third ROH guy is holding the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Correct.
Ain't that some shit? Now,
and he's the one that everybody said that was going to be the worst off when the Shield disbanded.
I never said that.
I know, but there was a bunch of people that were saying that Dean Ambrose, or that between the first guy and the second guy, no matter who it was going to be Dean Ambrose or Roman Reigns, and I could care less about both of those guys. But Seth Rollins is now at the top of the company. So, and nobody, I mean, I kind of saw it coming, but a lot of people, ever since that fiasco on Raw back in like January where his dick, everyone saw his wiener.
Oh, no.
Everyone thought that they were going to have him cash in and lose the Money in the Bank. But I'm glad that wasn't the case.
See, because that
could have happened.
Because I don't think it could have. I think, what happens is, unless he did something illegal, I understand, you take Jack Swagger and, speeding and getting caught with fucking drugs in the car. You got Emma who steals. You got all these people, like, going out doing, like, fucked up shit. All this guy...
but this was...
It was no law breaking. It was nothing. I
know it wasn't. But
how can someone be caught on camera sucking dick, right? Sucking dick, right? Several things, fucking and sucking dick, and then all of a sudden that same year host the Nickelodeon Kids Awards.
Who was that?
That was that chick, the Hilton, Paris Hilton.
Oh.
That year, when her videotapes came out, taking Come to the Face, that same fucking year she hosted the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards. I go, if that is the apex of, I think, in terms of like your private life meeting the surface and then having no, like, okay, you can get picked on for the worst, but in terms of your career, I don't see it take a turn. Like, that's, if you can get caught doing that, your personal life to that degree, and you still can have like a really healthy, if anything, it helped her career, then I don't see anything like personal like this, like Seth Rollins would make a difference.
But the way I see it, like, okay, did you watch the interview that Triple H did on the Steve Austin show that was live on the WWE?
Yeah, but like, you're talking about China. Like, China.
Yeah, but he did say that if you Google China, all this stuff comes out. Where if you Google Seth Rollins, there's a chance that you might see some of that.
Maybe.
So I'm just saying.
But like, here's the two differences. Here's the two differences. One was voluntary. The other is involuntary. So if that's anything, if anything, Seth Rollins is sort of a victim of invasion of privacy and hijacking, and that's almost a law. Whoever did this is, they're probably doing like the whole law thing about that.
Zahara, whatever her name is.
Yeah, they're probably going about. I don't know who it was, but like, that's an invasion of privacy. There's laws against that. And they're probably going through the judicial, due process of that right now. In terms of,
I haven't heard a report that, or read a report that said that she's been cut from NXT already.
I mean,
she's literally on the chopping block because they haven't done anything with her.
Well, I'm just saying, but
she's not even on TV yet.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm just saying. But then you have someone who's voluntary. Like what happened with, Night in China and then the shit she did with X-Pac, they all generated revenue from that. So
Don't remind me. That stuff still gives me nightmares.
it's fine. I mean, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is they generated revenue from that. So it was on purpose. It was voluntary. So I never saw him being a problem with that. But back to, say, what happened at WrestleMania and the idea of stuff, because I'm not going to go into every match. We already know what every match. I would have stick with the meat. And the biggest of them is the fact that he cashed in during the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match, making it a triple threat, and he pinned Roman Reigns. What are your thoughts on him? Did you assume that he was going to cash in the first place, or did you?
I did. Like, if I wrote a prediction column for Eyes on the Ring with a buddy of mine named John, who we do the prediction columns every month for pay-per-views. But one thing we both said was that Seth Rollins would cash in, and then he would win the title. But the way that we had it all laid out was that the match was going to happen between Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and then whoever won that was going to get cashed in on. But that's not how they did it, and I'm really happy that they didn't do it that way, because if Brock Lesnar... I mean, the stuff that Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns did was great, but the way that they had the cash-in done...
It's brilliant.
If you notice, it was amazing because at the end of the match, Rollins pinned Roman Reigns.
Yes.
Which means that Brock Lesnar is still this unbeatable monster because he never got pinned. Because as far as I'm concerned, and I wrote this in my prediction column, Brock Lesnar shouldn't have lost his match last Sunday because he's a year off of doing the unthinkable and breaking the streak.
Mm-hmm.
He lost the match in theory, but he didn't get pinned.
Yeah.
Therefore, he didn't lose the match, and it doesn't hurt his credibility at all.
How do you feel about Reigns in that match?
I thought he did a great job. Honestly, I did.
When he went into that crazy flurry, were you like, the room that I was in, we were like, and speaking of which, like the room that we were in, I was watching with Jake, Fritz. It was basically the crew, Alexa and Will. We were all kind of watching together, and that was when the music hit, I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I didn't really, it didn't really sink in, and just like even the crowd, it took a second. It was like maybe
for me it didn't, but
like 3 seconds, and then it was like, oh shit, because it all started to make sense. It's like, oh my god, a cash in. And it was like, we've talked about this. I was like, there's no way in hell he's going to do a cash in. And it was
and I told you he was going to do a cash in.
Well, great. Good for you.
Because I've wanted this to happen at Mania for years.
At least I'm surprised by it. I don't need bragging rights. I
do because I'm an asshole.
Because my whole bragging rights went down the toilet that entire WrestleMania, by the way.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, God. Lord.
I had 3 predictions wrong, and that was it. I had Sting and Taker flip-flopped, and there was another match that I got wrong, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I had Reigns beating...
Yeah.
I had Reigns beating Lesnar.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think my perception of Roman Reigns changed, I think, with everyone else. I think there's this collective sort of sigh of relief, and not in the fact that he didn't win, but in the fact that which I like to think he took, it was like a rite of passage, because when I say rite of passage, it's like what he's joining in the WWE and saying becoming the face of the company is somewhat of a gang. It's like, as the Slag Daddy would say, like the Breakfast Club. He's being inducted into the Breakfast Club, and what needed to happen is that he had to take an ass whooping. I think if he would have gotten the cheers and the cheers, I don't think he would have had to step in the ring and take an ass whooping from Brock. But since he didn't get like this overall approval from the fans, that is like, look, You got to prove yourself to the fans that you're able to take this ass whooping from Brock, from a
Well,
believable ass whooping, huh?
I don't see it that way at all.
Well, let me hear me out. Well, I felt like he had to take that ass whooping so we can take that sigh of release that, you know what? He's tough. He can take a beating, right? And he's humbled. And we get, because he took that ass beating and the pin, and he's humbled, that we can watch him actually progress from taking such a crash course in, going through like this crash course in his way up to the top. And we can see the ascension the way it should be, rather than saying like, no, this is Roman Reigns on a platter, And I look at that and go like, that's pretty commendable. And when he went on that flurry, I was like, oh shit, I think he's going to pull it off. But there was otherwise. And, I think that entire scenario from all 3 points respectively were it's perfect. And what made it even more perfect is that I didn't expect it at all. Right?
Yeah. I'll say this about Roman Reigns. I don't think, he might be ready. And I think this loss was a way to, what was I had my train of thought, I just can't remember what it is now. But his loss was just a way to kind of get him more ready in the sense that he didn't need to win this match. And I think, I know what I was going to say. I think him losing this match did a lot better for him than it would have if he won it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because fans were already booing him prior to the match. And going in, like, the previous Raws before Mania and all that, I think him losing this match gains him sympathy heat.
That's what that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that will go a long way in trying to get him over, and people will want to see him, get his redemption and get back to the main event.
Exactly.
Say, in 2 years at WrestleMania 33 when I'm there live.
Dude, but, I pity anyone that takes a beating from Brock. That's just one of those things. Because you know what? If I was in a ring with Brock, I would get my ass handed to me. And you know what? I would want people to actually feel sorry for me and be like, at least you tried, brother. We're on your side. Because I wouldn't even attempt it. You know?
And one of the things that I want to mention, too, that I noticed from this match, last year, if you watch the Brock Lesnar-Undertaker match, Brock did 3 F5s. And Taker was done on the 3rd F5. And I tweeted this out during the show, but if you watch that match again, Roman Reigns kicked out of 3 F5s, and then it took a 4th to finish him off. So they had him do something that The Undertaker couldn't do last year. And you can say, The Undertaker's old, and so he shouldn't have kicked out, whatever. But for him to kick out of 3 F5s like that the year after Undertaker couldn't do it, that's a huge compliment.
Of course. And I would bring in the age. I will be, as soon as you was talking about it, in my head I was coming up with the age factor. And
yeah.
And and I understand, but it isn't about age because to a certain degree, what we do, I guess, what is it, the disbelief? What do you call that shit?
Suspension of disbelief.
Is that these guys never age. Once you think about it, they do get older. We grow with them, but age is something that is pointed out through, say, the smarts rather than the casual fan. And if we could put those things aside, take that in consideration. That yes. You know what? He did break a record. He did break a record, not break a record, but he was able to overcome something that the guy at the top of the food chain couldn't do. Yeah. And that has to be taken, respectively. But yeah, moving on. Let's talk about
moving on up.
Yeah, dude.
All right. To the east side.
Yeah, man. Got to get a piece of that pie.
Yep.
Speaking of which, not now. I don't even know I want to talk about The Rock. Not Rock. I ain't talking about Rock. Whatever. Rousey or anything like that. Maybe later if we have enough time at the end. But I wanted to bring up Sting losing versus The Undertaker winning. And I went in thinking that Sting was going to win because, it was his first match. I think everyone thought that. I went in thinking that the Taker was going to lose because he didn't have to lose. I mean, he didn't necessarily have to win, right?
Okay, and I thought the same thing. But now that I think of it, Taker losing would have taken credibility away from Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I never thought of that.
And Jason Solomonster, or the Solomonster sounds off, Jason Solomon, he did a round table after WrestleMania, and he basically said it was either him or it was one of the guys that was in the round table, said that The Undertaker should not win another match at WrestleMania. But then someone else came back with the argument, well, if someone else wins, then it discredits Brock Lesnar. Because then, now that The Undertaker beat Bray Wyatt, which I don't like, I thought Bray Wyatt could have gone over, because, Bray Wyatt's going to be around for the rest of the year, whereas Undertaker's not going to be. So what do they do with Bray Wyatt? But Bray Wyatt beating The Undertaker would discredit Brock Lesnar, and not only that, then Paul Heyman couldn't say he was the one in 21-1. But now that The Undertaker beat Bray Wyatt, he can. Paul Heyman can still say that.
And now, what about Sting?
What about him?
What do you mean, what about him?
I don't have I thought that match was great. That match was my favorite match of the night, to be honest.
It was so overbooked, though.
It was extremely overbooked, but I can forgive that because of the nostalgia factor. There were a few holes in it. Like I didn't like the NWO being on Sting's side because if you watch WCW, that was never the case until you got to the Wolfpack. But I understand what they were going for with the WCW versus WWE thing,
which is like dumb. Let it go.
It made no sense to me because Sting on the Raw prior to WrestleMania said this isn't about WWE versus WCW. That would be stupid at this point.
Yeah, he called it an
entire match about WCW and WWE.
He was like what is he? He says pointless war. He basically dismissed it. He dismissed it. And
exactly.
And they even did it.
They still turn around and they do that.
Like there's how many? Like there's 6 guys, 7 guys. There's 8 guys, 9 guys in that entire booking, right? And there's only one dude in there that does not give a fuck, and that was Sting, right? Like he made it vocal. Like, look, dude, like I don't care. This isn't about me. It's about you being abusive with your power. And I'm going to take you out because that's what I do as Sting. And, Stephanie McMahon being the only one that's really been able to have any kind of back and forth with him was just like,
I hated that segment.
He was like, because I did like a little skit on like last week about like that interaction. It was like, hey, I'm here. I don't give a shit about no war. It's like, hey, WCW is finally going down. He's like, dude, I don't care. Like, WWE is already down. I mean, WCW is already down. It's like, nah, but the WCW is like, look, bitch, what part of you won don't you get?
Yeah.
It's like, I can almost bring a comparison to the whole idea of China and Triple H and the whole Steve Austin interview. It's like, well, look, bitch, you won. You have Triple H. Like, what more? What is keeping China out of the Hall of Fame? Why would that make you anywhere insecure?
He's jealous.
I know, but why would you be jealous? You won. Like, there's no, even with
people are still jealous no matter what.
That's still weird.
It doesn't matter.
It's so delusional. We're fighting all of these like dead, like gone to hell wars, and there's no reason to. Like, there's no reason for the script to be surrounded by the insecurities of Sting's existence from existing with the WCW into who the WWE is now. There's no reason to feel jealous, to China, when you, Stephanie McMahon, are basically the next in line to this empire that's doing so well, and you have the man, you have children with this man, and and it's like, why can't we just let things go? And it seems like overall,
she came out of Vince McMahon's dick.
Yeah, but like, I know, right? So it's like almost parallel to the idea. These two ideas of not letting something go is like so. It's so parallel. And for me, you look at Taker and I go, all right, you brought up some good points, but I was thinking more about Bray Wyatt. And you know what? He did hold his own. And what we had a conversation months ago about, like, well, if he carries this match, it's going to be in his pedigree. And the fact that he went in and he actually did carry the match pretty well.
How did you think that match was?
I think it was good. I think
see, I didn't like it at all.
Aesthetically, like looking at it, The Undertaker looked really woozy the entire time and really off step. And I felt like
I didn't see that at all.
I felt like Bray Wyatt was kind of holding back, because if you watch a lot of his matches, he's pretty ruthless. He's a ruthless.
There was a rumor that came out before the day of WrestleMania
that he hurt himself.
That said that he hurt himself. So I don't know if that's true, because it didn't look like he hurt him. He didn't look like he was slowing down.
That's called sucking it up.
But if there's any indication of that, that might be it. That he was kind of like letting up, and that might be why.
Yeah, and in the case of Sting, I go like, because between Sting and Bray Wyatt, I am at a place like, where do they go from now? What do you do from now? Was Sting paid to lose to Taker? Did you know what I'm saying? Because he couldn't have Taker. He's like, hey, okay, I'll just give you Sting, right? Was Bray Wyatt basically a prop to make Taker remain strong? And it's
pretty much.
Well, that sucks, because where's the advancement in his story now? Is he delusional now? Does he go out saying that, like, I'll put up? He basically becomes Triple H. Oh, I almost beat him. I hit him hard, and
Bray Wyatt is almost like, if you remember, he's the victim of bad booking on so many different occasions.
Yeah, he's never won the big one.
That there was after John Cena got destroyed by Brock Lesnar, they put John Cena and with Bray Wyatt in a match on Raw, and basically had Bray Wyatt be the sacrificial lamb to John Cena.
What they're doing with
this was the same case here, where the Undertaker lost last year, so they needed to redeem the Undertaker, but at the same time they devalued Bray Wyatt.
Well, they're gonna fuck around, because obviously Bray Wyatt is a heel. He's a cool heel. People cheer for him because he's so captivating, right? And he's pretty vicious in the ring. I mean, it's hard to not go against that guy just from his charisma and his abilities altogether. But what they're fucking doing is they're right backing his ass, right? Like, they're right backing him. But the difference is, Ryback isn't as charismatic as Bray. He's not given an opportunity to present himself in the light like Bray. So what's going to happen is everyone's going to look back and be like, dude, like, he's been given these really awesome spots, but he's been booked to lose. So they're going to fuck around and make him a babyface. Like, people are going to want to see him win after a while. Like, what the fuck? He's going to get in the ring with another babyface, and they're going to cheer on Bray Wyatt because it's about time for him to beat somebody. We want to
see it. You know what I wish they would have done, and they didn't do it. But remember back when the Wyatt family was still a thing, and before they broke up, Bray Wyatt basically told them they were free, and this was via a vignette.
Yeah,
and then they had vignettes for both Luke Harper and Eric Rowan.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a time when the Wyatt family comes back together.
Nope.
Yes.
Eric Rowan's gone.
No, there will be a time when they come back together, and it would have been perfect versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31.
It would, but I think they're transitioning Bray Wyatt to really stand on his own, and I don't know.
But he's not standing on his own in my eyes.
Well, he's only losing on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, he's standing on his own.
It's almost like because when he had Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, he would win all the time by interference and shenanigans. Now that he doesn't have them, he can't win a match to save his life.
Well, he can't win a big one when he even had Rowan and Harper. I mean, the guy has been booked to lose every big match he's ever been in.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. He won that cage match against John Cena at Extreme Rules, and that
no, he didn't win that. He didn't win. He won.
He won it via creepy kid shenanigans.
Yeah, like it's dumb. I mean, I don't. I'm talking about pinfall, pinfall or submission. Like he hasn't
he
done
still
that.
Won.
He
escaped the cage.
No, dude, but you don't get what I'm saying though. Like he wasn't really made to look like it didn't look like a convincing win. So
well, yeah, they made him look like shit with that creepy kid and everything. And that's my point.
Yeah, and Sting, apparently I didn't see the post. I didn't see the post Raw after Mania where Sting addresses the crowd.
That wasn't on the show.
Yeah,
that was after the show.
Yeah, I was saying post Raw that was on the network. I didn't get to see that, but apparently
you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, apparently he spoke about his contract, right?
No.
Oh,
he didn't say anything about his contractual status. He basically said that if they want him to do something else, that he will. But he said that his future is currently up in the air.
Okay, so basically contractual. I mean, I don't know. Never mind. It's all.
Well, no, he didn't disclose the details of his contract. That's what he said. He said, and his catchphrase has always been, the only thing sure about Sting is nothing's for sure.
Yeah.
He didn't drop that line here, but that's pretty much what he was saying.
Oh, okay. But I have no idea where to go with him now.
Do you see them doing Sting Taker next year?
I
don't think it's going to make any sense.
It's one of those things where it's like, well, it's one of those things where it's like, it'll be, I can say I saw it.
Yeah.
Versus say like almost like Sting coming to the WWE. Like,
yeah, I
can sit back and say that yes, I've been a fan long enough thinking that I would never see Sting in a WWE ring, and I can say it now that I Sting in a WWE ring. And then when they get into the ring together, regardless of how either good or because Sting looked great in that Triple H match, no matter how bad the match could potentially be, at least they were in the ring. I would much rather drink spoiled milk. I would much rather drink spoiled milk than go thirsty.
I don't know what to say about it because I have been a huge proponent of saying that I don't want to see the match, but now I'm kind of leaning the other way where I do want to see the match. But the way that I had it kind of booked it in my head, and I don't normally do fantasy bookings because quite frankly I hate it, but what I would have liked to have seen happen this last Monday on Raw was have Sting come out, say he lost to Triple H, say that he doesn't have it anymore, that he's leaving, he's done, blah, blah, blah. The lights go out, Undertaker comes out, he basically appears in the ring, and basically he looks to the WrestleMania sign, and then Sting does the same thing. And that could have set up a match a year in advance, kind of like they did with Cena Rock 1. The only difference is with Sting Taker, you don't have to do anything to build the match. All you would have to do is have them do some kind of in-ring interaction just once, and then have them off TV for the rest of the year, and then up to that match, have the match, and I mean, there's no build necessary. Because if you tell people that match is going to happen, they'll watch it regardless. I mean, it's not going to be a 5-star classic. It probably won't even hit 3 stars. But I'm wondering if it's... I'm kind of leaning towards the way of it needs to happen just so they can say that it happened.
I have this idea with Sting because the fascination of Sting versus Taker isn't the match as much as it is how it gets there. Like, that's you say you don't like giving fantasy bookings, but like the fantasy of how they make it happen is what we're all waiting for, and it'll be a beautiful thing regardless, you know. But that's the intrigue. That's why we want to see this match happen, because we want to see how it happens, you know.
Yeah.
So same here. But I think Sting has 2 matches in him going into this year. I think he has a summer.
2 left?
No. I think he has 2 in him for the year. He looked great out there.
I don't think he wrestles again until next year's WrestleMania.
Just hear me out.
If that.
Just hear me out. I think he has 2 matches. Like, because here's the thing. Taker doesn't have to come to Sting, right? Sting has to go to Taker. Like, you see what I'm saying here? He doesn't hold leverage in the idea of Sting, of Taker having to call him out. Because what has he done? He lost to a guy that he beat twice, right?
Yeah.
He's been in the company longer. If anything, Sting has to sort of prove himself as worthy enough to beat the Taker, right?
By the way, before I forget, I have this in my head. I want to mention this. According to WWE, and they mentioned this on Sunday, the commentators did, and I don't normally listen to commentary because it's so bad that I just try to tune it out. They said that Sting's last match was on March 26th of 2001. Meaning that he hadn't wrestled in 14 years.
Oh, yeah, like, because they don't give a shit about TNA.
Yeah, that's just, it bothers me, though. Because if he hadn't wrestled in 14 years, he wouldn't have been in that good of shape.
Well, that's really paying a little too much to detail. I mean, I see what you're saying. You should be
that
more...
and JBL also buried the shit out of Sting, saying that WrestleMania isn't Starrcade and a bunch of other stuff. So,
hey, it's funny for him to even make that comment, being that the guy that he's best known to be with, say APA, Mr. Ron Simmons, the first black WCW champion,
World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, you know, like, that's the irony, and maybe that's going to be heat between the two of them if he even watched. I
don't think that was a JBL comment. I think that was something that Vince McMahon told JBL to say, because that happens a lot.
Well, maybe Kevin Dunn, but yeah, but like, that's, you know, you tread.
He's got some weird teeth. You
tread lightly on things, making comments like that, because you have to really, you got to map out the involvement, and yeah, you know, you sit beside fucking Booker T for one. And then, well, sorry, he's not sitting beside him at the time, but, you know, he's sitting with him at Raw, and he was the last WCW champion. And then you have your quote-unquote best friend, or your partner, and both black men, too, which is even funnier.
Yes.
You know, who sent shockwaves through the wrestling world by becoming the WCW champ. World champion, being the first black world champion from, you know, on Starrcade. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's hypocrisy, but I think the thing you should be. I think rather than focusing on this gap between the fact that they had the audacity to say he had this gap between matches, and the fact that he's in good shape, is the fact that they disregarded the existence of TNA. You see what I'm saying? And
well,
were you a fan of TNA? Are you a fan, and were you a fan?
I was a fan from, like, when they started airing, like, weekly pay-per-views, like, on Wednesday. I watched that up, and then I felt like I was a fan of them up until about 2009. And then I watched the January 4th, 2010 Impact, which was the first one that Hulk Hogan came in on, and then it lost me. And now, if you ask me about TNA, I hate their guts, and I want them to die because they are the worst wrestling company to ever run in existence. And I don't. If you want to argue that with me, that's your problem.
I'm not arguing with you. I don't care. I don't even care for TNA.
No, I know, but I'm saying if people want to argue with me, try to think of another company that's worse, and with an idiot owner that makes the dumbest decisions humanly possible. So, because Dixie Carter is a moron.
Well, we're not going to go there. We're not here to talk TNA. I'm just saying in general. And plus, they're even.
No, I'm not. I was a fan. I'm not a fan anymore.
They're even more fucked up because you don't hate their guts, you hate their ropes. And they're fucked too because they're going to start like a TNA Hall of Fame. And I'm like, well, where are you going to get?
They already did it. They already did start a TNA Hall of Fame.
Oh, they did.
All the guys in the Hall of Fame are no longer in their company. Sting and the Dudley Boys.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to see who they try to get in there and who's either gone back to TNA or...
They tried to get AJ Styles, but he's not there anymore.
Yeah, or going back to the WWE, you know, like, it's slim pickings.
Yep.
Slim.
All the that company's a sinking ship, but...
Oh, it's a sunk ship. It's a submarine right now. It's still operational, obviously, but it's sunk, but it's living underwater. So,
well, yeah, and the only reason why it was still in business is because of Spike TV, but now that they don't have that backing and Destination America apparently isn't panning out the way they wanted it to.
No, I think Destination America's quite happy with it.
I think they are, but it's like, no.
I mean, I'm obviously, like,
of
the expectations are low. I mean, them pulling in, let's throw out a number, like 300,000 people. That's probably the most that's ever viewed that fucking station in one sitting ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So the standards are low, and they're happy with those low standards. I mean, that's a lot of business for them. 300,000? Like, I don't know, but we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and I guess quickly, if we could talk about your feelings about John Cena winning the U.S. title, because I didn't even that was one of those things I completely ruled out. I was just like, no way in hell.
No, I had that. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I remember you saying it, but I mean, now what?
And one thing before we get too far off track, I want to mention something about the Divas on Monday.
Well, we're gonna go into Raw. We're gonna go into Raw.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I know that you said you only wanted to record for.
I know. I mean, we got time. We got time.
Okay.
We got time. We got like 20 more minutes.
But, so the Cena-Rusev match we're on now?
Yeah.
I thought that match was good.
It was amazing.
I thought it was good. But I thought their match at Fastlane was a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But I still...
Fastlane or Payback?
Fastlane. Payback was last June.
What's the one?
Fastlane, I'm talking the February pay-per-view.
February. What was the Fastlane? Okay, never mind. I don't know why I'm thinking Over the Limit or some shit like that. I was thinking
Over the Limit is a pay-per-view that I don't think they do anymore, and if they do it, it's in May.
Yeah, but it just sounded too much like, because the Fastlane and then Over the Limit is like a sort of a speedometer or whatever. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's all like car driven, whatever. But go ahead.
But I didn't enjoy watching the two matches. I enjoyed the Fastlane match only a little bit more, only because I didn't know where that one was going per se.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the WrestleMania match, I knew the outcome and what it was going to be the entire time, because you don't build an undefeated streak not having John Cena in mind as the guy who's going to end it. And I knew that was where they were going to go as soon as they set up that Fastlane match. And it didn't happen at Fastlane. As soon as Rusev made John Cena win or tap out in decisive fashion or basically pass out, I knew that, okay, there's no way that John Cena does not win at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Because this streak was designed for him to win, to break it. And I also posed this question during a prediction column that I wrote for Eyes on the Ring. I said, if John Cena doesn't break this streak, then who does? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I knew that John Cena was going to win. Anybody who thought that...
Okay. But how do you feel about him winning with the belt? Like, now what with that belt? Now what with John Cena? I mean...
I think what it's going to do is it's going to bring prestige to that belt needs.
I don't think so. There's no coming back from that belt. I mean, who's going to beat it? I mean, who's going to take it off of him, for one?
That's a good question, but we'll find out. That's why we're wrestling fans, because...
But, like, think of one person. Because, obviously, he has the belt. He has to get up off that belt at some point. And
I want him to hold it forever.
Oh, God.
The reason why?
Because you never want to see him at the top of the card ever again.
No, that's not the reason why at all. Well, it kind of is, but the longer he has that belt, the less of a chance he has to tying Ric Flair's record.
Basically, keeping him away from the top of the card.
Exactly, but I think he's to the point where he doesn't need another world title reign.
But you buy that record? Do you buy that record?
What, Ric Flair?
Yeah.
Well, they say that he's got 16 titles.
I don't buy that record. Fuck that record.
I do. It's in the history books. Go look it up.
But he has way more championships than that. Like, to even care that he only held the WWEF belt.
Well, it includes the WCW world title. And if you look at, like, all the regional world titles that he won, he's like a 25-time world champion.
He's like a 30 billion time world champion.
No, just like it's like 25. So,
and it's almost in relation to, right now, what is it? Right now, LeBron James he's taking the 20th spot in terms of scoring. He knocked off Patrick Ewing in terms of most points scored in their career. And on the Dan Patrick Show today, Charles Barkley, especially, it's funny because I was just listening to that interview before talking to you, and he brought up that he's like, like that record it's like faux. It's like a faux record, right? Because you talk about a guy Patrick Ewing, who spent 4 years in college, and LeBron James had a 4-year head start. So let's just, apparently, points and points in the NBA, we get it. But, like, let's just say Patrick Ewing would have not gone 4 years. What if he would have just came straight out of high school? He would have had at least another, 5,000 points for LeBron James to have to catch up on, right? So you talk about Ric Flair. I put him in the same light where it's like, well, John Cena, he's only experienced the top, only experienced wrestling in the WWE to, got a head start on winning as many championships with that company as much as Ric Flair did. So if we want to like pinpoint to the fact that, yeah, he has 15 versus his 16, I go like, no, he has, in terms of like championship, like WWE, but like he's had a head start on Ric Flair. If Ric Flair would have spent his entire time with the WWE, he probably would have held that belt at least 35 times.
But he held the belt enough times in WCW.
But then you also have to bring up. But you also have to bring up Crockett. You also have to bring up Crockett. You got to bring up world class. You got to bring up.
He only held the world title in WWE twice. The rest of them were in WCW.
Whatever, man. I just don't buy into that. I don't buy into it. So,
and I think if John Cena ties the record, I think that could be fine. But I don't think he'll get the 17th world title reign.
He will.
No, he won't. Because he's on the end of...
Nope, he's not.
On the ending legs of his career.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. He's being held together by duct tape at this point.
Dude, do you realize that when Hollywood Hogan debuted, when he ran into that fucking ring, whose side is he on? And he dropped the fucking big leg on fucking Randy Savage. Do you know how old he was?
Does it matter?
It does matter because
he wasn't held together by duct tape.
Because his career And even Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they were all well into their 30s. I think Hulk Hogan was like 42, 43 at the time. And like,
there's no way.
That,
no, because he's like 50 now. He's like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Let me think about this. He's like 61 now. So that, I don't know, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So you mean to tell me that John Cena is on his last leg, and between they I watched this video.
He was 38.
Okay, so collectively the age of Hall, Nash, and Hogan, the NWO, their collective ages was like 30, 37, right? 36, 37. That's how old John Cena is now. They were able to have a career at like a full-on career after that. They made their names for themselves at the same age that John Cena is now. And to say that John Cena's on his last leg, that guy's still a hot commodity for the WWE. Like, it's insane to believe that he doesn't have at least 3 more championship reigns in his career for that company.
He does, but he might have 3 more reigns. But what's to say that the company doesn't give it to him? Because Triple H is very stubborn, and I don't think Triple H will let him. He might let him tie the record. I don't think he's going to let John Cena beat Flair's record and get the 17th title reign.
All right.
Because Triple H and Ric Flair are best friends, and I don't think that. I honestly do not see Triple H allowing it to happen unless Vince wants it to happen.
Well, he's great friends with Sting too. What you think about it? That Sting versus Triple H match, and this is something I was discussing with Jake, is that like, wait a minute, you got 2 generations of Ric Flair disciples in the ring together. Triple H is basically Ric Flair. He wrestles like Ric Flair. He does everything. The first move in that match was the over the fucking buckle. Right?
Yeah.
Which is like Sting. I mean, which is Flair all day. Sting does the woo. He does the woo to tribute Ric Flair. Ric Flair found Sting, put him over as the next guy in line. Like, I feel like in terms of I guess cooperation. What's the word?
Collaboration?
No. Association, that Sting actually holds more weight than Triple H, and he still, he still lost because he was the one guy lost in that entire clusterfuck that happened during that match, and he is in relation to both of them. It's closer than anyone else that came out there, right? Between 2 of them, I don't know. Sting's a super Christian. I think that's why he's probably separated himself from Ric Flair altogether.
Yeah.
And but in general, I don't think Ric Flair holds that much weight to Triple H to preserve that, or with Vince, because he's fucked Vince over so many times, and they fucked each other over so many times.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, it don't. But nevertheless, I see John Cena dropping that belt maybe somewhere down the line to a mid-card guy to get him back to get prestige to that mid-card guy to, he's next in line.
And who would the mid-card guy be?
That posed a great question. We saw that match between him and Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose could possibly do it, but he's already held that belt again.
He already held that belt.
He can hold it several times.
No, he can't. His first reign was god-awful.
It was. It wasn't god-awful. It never really existed. He never defended
it like 4 times within like 300-something days. It was terrible.
I mean, there's so many guys. It could be Roman Reigns. I mean, it could be Big E Langston. It could be Dolph Ziggler. I mean, it could be a whole host of guys. But
I honestly
we'll see.
I honestly think, and I have thought for a long time, that they should unify those 2 titles because there's no need for 2 mid-card titles, because they have 1 tag title, they have 1 world title, So there's no need for 2 mid-card titles.
And especially if you want to bury the WCW so fucking much, the U.S. title is as much as a WCW title as the big gold.
Yeah. And what I would like to see happen now that we have the 2 champions that we have, they could do like a best of 7 series for the unification, but they won't do that because
I thought you didn't like doing fantasy booking, bro.
I don't, but I'm just saying it's something they could do.
You know what we could do?
What?
We could talk a little bit about Raw.
That works with me.
And first and foremost, let's talk about how awesome that Brock meltdown was.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
How did you feel about that Raw altogether, by the way? Like, out of, 1 to 10, what do you grade it?
Altogether, I give it like a 7. The reason,
You're nuts!
I was thinking about giving it like even a higher rating, but the ending fell flat.
Okay.
But that was the only problem that I had with the show. That
Enough to take away 3 points?
Huh?
Enough to take away 3 points?
No, enough to take away 1 point. I said I wasn't giving it an 8 because of the ending.
Okay. I think you said 7.
I said 7, but I said I didn't give it an 8 because of the ending, because it fell flat.
Okay. So Brock, he loses his shit, and he's suspended indefinitely because, he has to sort of chill. And by the way, like, something I listened, what it was to listen to, I think it was listening to PW Torch, and one of the guys was like, well, one of the first spoiler alerts to the idea that Brock wasn't going to win the belt was the fact that whoever won the belt was going to be on the Today Show. So that means Brock was going to have to get on a plane to New York and then get back to L.A. And it's like, there's no way in hell that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Like, Brock's really going to do that? Are you insane? No, he wasn't going to. Someone else is going to hold on to that belt, but not Brock. But they got him off. When does he return?
Brock Lesnar?
Yeah.
Sometime before SummerSlam for his rematch.
And does he beat? Does he beat Rollins?
I don't know, because I was going to mention that earlier when we were kind of talking about it, but I don't know how they do that without having a third guy in the match, because I don't know if they're going to want Rollins to straight up pin Brock Lesnar and end his streak of not being pinned for so damn long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last time he was pinned was by John Cena, right?
Yeah, and that was Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm.
That was his very first match back.
That was 2 or 3 years ago.
2012.
Wow, 3 years ago.
He hasn't lost since. Actually, I think Triple H beat him at SummerSlam.
I forgot about that. That did happen. That didn't happen. No, we both agree with that.
Yeah. But anyway, he hasn't lost aside from those 2 losses, or one, because there's one that I want to forget about. Because Triple H had to stroke his ego, but he hasn't lost or gotten pinned in a long ass time.
So does he get the belt back or not?
That I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going with it or how they're going to even book his rematch.
I know.
Because if they want to keep the unbeaten streak of Lesnar alive, they're going to have to do another triple threat match come SummerSlam.
Mm. Well,
and I don't like that idea because they just...
Well, who's the third person?
I don't know. Unless they do... Because they could do this. Because you remember when... And this is fantasy booking again, and I hate this. But, so... The match at WrestleMania started out as Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and then it turned into a triple threat match with Seth Rollins. They could straight up give us a triple threat match with those three guys at SummerSlam, because it would be a different, or it would be the same
you
match.
Say
but
Reigns?
It would be, yeah.
Fuck Reigns.
If,
Reigns had his opportunity
agree,
at the belt.
But I'm saying, like, they could easily build him back up and then have him go after the belt again and just do, like, a straight-up more traditional triple threat match at SummerSlam, and the same thing could happen where Rollins could pin Reigns.
Because the last time they even faced was on, like, I think a SmackDown. And, was it SmackDown or Raw? And Roman Reigns got a victory.
That was a Raw.
That was a
I
Raw.
believe.
And then Randy Orton has a victory over Rollins. Oh shit. We're talking like a fatal 4-way.
Oh, that would work too. Why don't, or instead of Reigns, put Orton in there.
But
so do Brock, Orton, and Rollins.
But here's the thing, man. My whole beef with the idea of Reigns even sniffing at the world title is that, like, he had his chance. He won the Royal Rumble.
That's why I'm saying you don't put him in the match. You have it between Rollins, Lesnar, and Randy Orton.
But he has a win over Seth. That's the thing. That's, when it all boils down to it.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. That's how the whole Intercontinental Belt thing was going on. The whole ladder match involved a bunch of people that beat...
Stealing a belt that didn't mean anything.
No, listen. But the whole thing was built around the idea in non-title matches that all 7 of those dudes that were involved had beaten Barrett. That's why they were all there, because you know what?
Yeah, to build that one match.
But I just feel like why
out of the window now, because
why are we picking and choosing who deserves a shot now? Like,
but I'm just saying, when Reigns beat Rollins, he wasn't the champion, so that doesn't matter.
But he's still first in line because he beat him.
No, he's not. No, he's not, because he wasn't the champion when he beat him.
But
that's where you and I disagree.
I'm just saying that there could be a technicality that he could slide in for a fatal 4-way.
Well, then everybody who's ever beaten Rollins in the history of ever could slide in for a 1,000-man match.
Well, in terms of him being in the WWE, how many people has he lost to?
Dean Ambrose, who means nothing right now.
Did he beat him?
Dean Ambrose beat Seth Rollins.
When?
Once in their feud, if I remember correctly.
Dude, you got to tell me when, because I remember Seth Rollins going over both because they faced during the lumberjack match, and then they faced and that ended zany. Ambrose didn't beat him. And then they had the cage match, and then that's when Bray Wyatt showed up, and Seth got the win. So the only loss I even remember him having is against Reigns and against Orton.
Hold on, give me a second. I'm looking something up. I can't find it now, because of course I mentioned something and then...
No, I think he only has 2 losses. Well, not 2 losses. He's lost to Reigns, I think twice, and he's lost to Orton once. But he does have a victory over Reigns. Well, look, and we'll keep talking till then, because let's move on, because I want to try to get through this in the next...
Yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah, 15 minutes. So let's talk about the invasion of NXT into Raw. And the debut, basically, of Kalisto, it was all about him. And Neville. Not Adrian Neville, but Neville.
Yep.
How do you feel, dude?
The one thing that I hate out of this whole thing is, if you notice, with the debut of Neville, his first name, Adrian, was cut out.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vince McMahon has a phobia against first names that start with the letter A.
I know, right? I was thinking about that the other day.
Because, like, and if
Other than Big E, other than Big E.
Well, yeah.
Other than Big E, everyone else though.
Yeah, but like Antonio Cesaro is just Cesaro. Now Adrian Neville is just Neville. There's probably another example that I can't think of, and it's like I'm surprised they haven't told Adam Rose that he's just Rose now.
Well, Antonio Cesaro, Adrian Neville, Big E Langston, Jack Swagger. Swagger lost Jack Swagger. He's just now Swagger. He's been Swagger for a while.
No, he's not.
They went back to Jack Swagger?
They never. Yeah, he's just Jack Swagger.
He lost Jack.
You got that.
He lost Jack for a while. I remember he was just Swagger.
No, that never happened.
I remember, man. Anyone who's listening, comment. Don't you remember when Jack Swagger lost Jack? All right.
No, because it never happened.
And then Rusev.
Yeah, Rusev. He was the one that I didn't think of. I actually don't mind him just being Rusev.
Yeah, but at the same time, he has a badass name. Now let's go over all these all these guys with these one names, like Blake and Murphy, or like say even.
No, they still reference them by Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy.
Okay, but they still call him Blake and Murphy.
That's their tag name.
But that name suck.
Name.
What a suck ass name. You know what else is a suck fucking name? Fucking Connor and I love this.
Victor, Rick Victor and
Connor
O'Brien. They cut their last names.
Neville is a stupid name. I mean, it's dumb. Like it's these nerdy ass names. Like I wish they could make badass names again. Like all of a sudden they just become like no, we're just going to like name you like these fucking ham and egger names. Basically what they are. Let's just say Adam Rose lost Rose. He just was Adam all of a sudden. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
And Cesaro's pretty cool name, but everybody else just sucks. But I mean, nevertheless, Neville, he comes out in the cape, lose the cape, man.
I think that goes with the whole Mighty Mouse gimmick that they're trying to give him.
I know, but lose the cape. Like that's dumb. Like you may as well just throw a cowboy hat on him too.
Well, they always because you know how the Ascension got shoulder pads, he's getting a cape, so it's like Vince McMahon always has to give them something to make them like different from what they were on NXT. Wow. And we've had this conversation before. I hate that because they're giving them something else to work with. It's like, why can't you take a guy just as is straight from NXT without ruining them?
But you have to take in consideration the guys that are all in there with him going over these dumb, idiotic things. Between Michael P.S. Hayes, Dusty Rhodes. Like, those two guys, they live in, like, 1985. They got to. I mean, and almost a lot of the things they come up with, they always, their beta version, they're always beta versions. Always. Name one guy that's coming to, and they, like, gave him something else. I think out of all the guys, really, honestly, in terms of gimmicks and appearance, I think the only person that's really come in as is and who he is now is Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So,
the only thing he had was a name change.
Yeah, all he had was a name change, but they didn't try to throw like a cowboy hat on him. They didn't try to like give him some dumb glitch, a stutter.
God, I hope they're not listening to this.
Who?
WWE Creative.
Yeah, but like I'm tired of their beta versions when a lot of those guys come ready, and how many times have Cesaro been a beta? Like this is like what we're dealing with him, and now with Kid is like his like 10th version.
Yeah,
but I digress. So we got Neville, we got Kalisto. Kalisto went out and, apparently, he's with Sin Cara, but Sin Cara's already had his moment. And
not this version of Sin Cara.
No, but in general, just the gimmick in general. It's come and gone. And he's in this tag team, and being that they don't have Rey Mysterio any longer, this was just like, hey, here's a new little guy with a mask, y'all.
I I've been saying this for a while. Kalisto is what they wanted Sin Cara to be, which is Rey Mysterio's replacement.
But you
and
remember,
I'm not talking about they still have a Sin Cara. I'm talking about the original Sin Cara.
yeah, Mystico.
Yeah, they wanted Mystico to be, well, now Mystasis, because Mystico is played in Mexico by a different guy.
I know.
So, Mystasis, they wanted him when he was in WWE as Sin Cara #1. They wanted him to be Rey Mysterio's replacement.
Do you think Kalisto has the potential to be as big as Rey Mysterio?
Yes, I do.
I think so as well. It sucks.
Wait a minute.
What?
Did we actually agree on something for once?
Yeah, I agree that you're a nerd. We agree that you're a nerd.
I hate you.
So, yeah, it's not the first time. So, the only thing that really blows about this, and the difference between, say, the success of Rey Mysterio and the success of Kalisto, is that Kalisto is given the rookie title. For one, he's given a rookie title. You know, he went it through NXT developmental. He also is not around the best. He's not surrounded by the best talent. You know, like you look at the talent that the WWE has, it's not the best. It's not even in comparison to when Rey Mysterio was coming up.
And they don't even have their own cruiserweight division.
Well, I think what's going to happen with the Intercontinental belt is that it's going to become the new cruiserweight. That's going to be a wrestling title.
See, and I don't know because I've heard like the rumor like a million times ever since the network was launched that they were trying to sign these smaller guys so that they could start this cruiserweight show that they wanted to do. But I don't know if that's still...
That'll never happen because, again, Vince doesn't like cruiserweights. He likes big guys. So,
but if they're all dedicated on one show, then he doesn't really have to pay attention to it.
Well,
because it would be a network exclusive. They could act like it didn't exist.
Well, I just don't see something like that going into effect. I see more or less taking one of those titles, one of those mid-card titles, i.e. the Intercontinental Championship, guys that there's a potential, and this is what I was talking to Jake about, there's a potential that could be the ceiling for a lot of those smaller guys or like internet darlings of who's, you know, because when you look at what's happening with the world title right now, the guys that are in line right now, let's look at the guys that are in line, who are in the championship picture. You have Brock Lesnar, you have Roman Reigns, you have Randy Orton, and you have the guy who holding the belt, Seth Rollins. And then you look at who's in that ladder match. And who do you see anywhere close other than, say, Daniel Bryan and maybe Dolph Ziggler to even have a legitimate shot? Not a shot, but at least a considered legitimate shot at going for that WWE belt.
Nobody, but I also will say this. Dolph Ziggler might have a better shot than Daniel Bryan does because as long as Daniel Bryan's the Intercontinental Champion,
yes,
he won't even sniff the world title. And I think I mentioned this, I might have said this either on Eyes on the Ring or on this show. And in fact, I think it was actually, it was on Eyes on the Ring on Sunday, right after Mania. But I said that just because a lot of people were freaking out that Daniel Bryan had the Intercontinental title because they were afraid that he's not going to get the world title again.
Of course.
But I think what this is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I would like it to be because this is just the way I think. But if they were so concerned that Daniel Bryan got injured during his world title reign, I think that giving him the Intercontinental title is a way of giving him a belt to see if he can carry it and not get injured. I think if he has a long title reign, like maybe 5-6 months with the belt, with the Intercontinental title, and he stays healthy, they may consider giving him another shot at and run at the world title.
And I firmly, I hate to have to disagree, but I disagree. I think it's...
And I could see, I'm not going to harp on you for disagreeing because I could see how you could disagree with that line of thinking. I'm just it's just a thought that I had that may be true, it may not be true, but we'll see.
It's going to be a while before Daniel Bryan gets another shot at that belt, healthy or not. Like I think.
That I agree with, because in all honesty, they didn't want him to get the shot last year that he did at WrestleMania 30.
Well, if we look at it for what it is, the IC belt is the SmackDown belt. It is no longer the big gold. It is the IC belt. Whoever holds that IC belt is the face of SmackDown. And in conversations, prior to WrestleMania and like him losing to Roman Reigns and the whole thing of somewhat of a semi-brand split is the fact that Daniel Bryan has stepped up and said, you know what, I want to be the face of SmackDown. And I want to be able to help that brand become more popular than Raw. And with that, he has to have that belt. He has to have the Intercontinental belt. And if he himself has decided, he's put himself in a position to be the guy for SmackDown, that yes, he's going to be quite some time before he leaves SmackDown. But
I don't even buy that theory because there isn't a full brand split.
I know. I said a pseudo brand split. It is to a certain extent, though. And the top belt for that show is the IC belt. And what I feel the potential of SmackDown being, especially with the IC belt, is to be it's already the wrestling show. Not a lot of storyline goes into that show. Most of the storyline, well, all of the storyline that could be dedicated to this show is all recaps and rewinds. Right?
Yep, and they've said ever since the move to Thursday that they were going to try to make it more important, but they haven't done.
No, they've done that at all. I mean, I'm doing. I got to put up a SmackDown review tomorrow. I have to watch it tomorrow and put it up tomorrow. And it is. I'm witnessing it firsthand. The reason why I didn't watch SmackDown in the first place because of the lack thereof a storyline that bridge. If anything, the storylines actually bridged over to Raw. Like, oh yeah, why are they beefing? Because this happened on SmackDown. They never really come to grips of it on the show. They come to grips of it on the Raw show for like a smidget, and then you get a match and you get the fuck gone. But seeing how they treated that belt during, before the ladder match, before the Mania ladder match, and going in, say what happened at Raw, Daniel Bryan versus Ziggler, is that it was like this fucking intense wrestling match. No one gave a fuck why they were fighting each other. Like, why they fight each other again? Like, there's no storyline really connected other than the fact they were both just going after the belt.
Well, and that was the rumored match that they were supposed to do at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and they pulled it out. Bryan went over finally. That was like, over the past couple of weeks, Ziggler's been going over, and finally Bryan goes over, and it was very reckless. It was a very reckless match, and it really states the claim that he's going to be holding on to that IC belt and being the face of SmackDown for quite some time. So that IC belt, he's going to be facing R-Truth. He's going to be facing, Harper. He's going to be facing Bad News Barrett. He's going to be facing this guy and that guy. A bunch of guys we see as more wrestlers than we do see them as like top card storyline guys. Kofi Kingston maybe, I think that's what's going to happen, and that's going to solidify that belt being kind of like the new cruiserweight. Like, none of those guys I mentioned have a shot at the belt, the big belt, at all. Now what?
Yeah.
And I've always viewed Daniel Bryan having that belt be like, man, it's been a while. You heard me talk about this before. We talked about it. It's like, man, Daniel Bryan having a belt. Yeah, that's like the first time in a very long time that we have a formidable IC holder that looks like he's in line for the belt, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. It's totally debunked now. He looks it, but he's not it. So
yeah. And my hope was that in the 80s / early 90s, once a guy would lose the Intercontinental title, they would be propelled into the world title picture. I hope that's the case with Daniel Bryan, but it hasn't been the case for like Dolph Ziggler and people like that, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, because it's like it's not like Dolph Ziggler started with the IC belt. He actually started with the big gold, and then he got the IC belt.
Yeah, but now the IC belt, like you said earlier, that's the new big gold belt.
So who the fuck? What was I about to say? So yeah, enough about that. Who comes up next after Kalisto and Neville?
From NXT?
Yeah. And do you see Neville being a success? You think he's going to be put in a position to succeed? I know Kalisto
so,
is. I know Kalisto is going to be put on a fucking platinum platter. Like, that guy is going to be the guy.
I hope so.
Very soon.
I really do. I want to see Sasha Banks get called up, and I want to see what she can do with the current crop of divas that they have on the roster.
They're horrible. Do you listen to Cheap Heat?
No, I don't.
Those fools always put over the divas. I'm just like, oh, the divas are great.
I'm not putting the divas over. I just want new talent in the divas division in order for them to actually do something different.
Well, I still feel that between Naomi, Natalya, and Alicia Fox, and what they're doing now with Brie Bella. There's one more in there that I feel like that, or even Summer Rae to a certain degree. Like, just do them right.
He sucks.
Like, do them right. Do them right. Or even Emma. Like, okay, take out Summer Rae, put in Emma. You know?
Works because I hate Summer Rae. She's terrible.
I gotta stay. Hey, she Raleigh, man. She Carolina. I gotta root for my Carolina.
Yeah,
head.
she looks like a horse.
Oh, stop, dude.
That while we're on this topic, what did you think about the Divas match? It was a 6-man tag on Raw, and the match, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a match. Well, it was a match, but the match took precedent, or something took precedence over the match, and those were the chants that we got during the match. What did you think of those?
I've been scouring the internet and about this right here, and the only thing that I can come up with is that measuring stick of how the divas are treated by the fans versus the treatment of the divas by this Raw After Mania fanship. I feel like it's two different galaxies. You got guys from different countries that view women in a different way and how they interact with them and where they see them placed in terms of that,
But do you know what chance I'm talking about?
Yeah, you fucked Cena, you sucked Cena, shit like that, right? Yeah, like, Now, the usual American crowd wouldn't even think to go there. Ever.
Yeah, they would, because it was a smart, it was...
No, well,
the Raw After Mania is always filled with people that, some of them went to Mania the night before, but the ones that can't afford tickets to Mania go to the Raw. So it's like a total smart crowd, and they always try to put themselves over, and they're idiots.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but you also have to factor in how many people from other places of the world. Because if you could break out that fucking pie, and you can, the pie chart to who's in the crowd. Now, I'm not throwing non-Americans under the bus here. It could come off as me saying that, but like what we get right there is a mob mentality. You got a bunch of people who celebrate all sports through the scope of a fucking soccer fan, right? And how they interact and how they see women. And throughout, we got all year, man. They're on tour. They're going to different parts of the fucking United States that are a little more liberal in terms of how they treat the divas, what they say to divas, how they just speak to women in general, right? Because it would paint a horrible brush over, say, like what's the word I want to use? Sexism, and I've yet to see that all year, every year. Like, they go to all these different places, like, the only thing that I can come to grips with, the only thing that could make sense in my mind is that you have people from other places that have different views on women and how they interact with them
I don't agree with that one at all.
in the crowd, inciting this shit. And then everyone else is like, well, if everyone else is chanting it, let me chant that shit too.
I disagree with that. I don't think it could have been people from the United States, for all I know. We don't know.
But it wasn't.
How do you know that?
Because that's the whole defense of Raw after Mania. The crowd. It's the fact they're so hyped because these people are from other countries.
But it doesn't. You don't. How do you know that someone chanting something is from a different country? You don't. There's no way to know that.
Because I have previous diva matches to judge from that happen in the United States where shit like that does not happen.
No, I think that's just a crowd. I think it was just a crowd trying to put themselves over.
All right.
That's all I think it was.
Well, let's see if it happens. Let's see if it happens next Monday. Let's see if it happens 2 Mondays.
It won't.
Hell, let's see if it happens 35 Mondays from now.
It won't because it's the Monday after. It's not the Monday after WrestleMania.
Nah.
Next Monday we go back to status quo and normal crowds. Which
Normal.
I'm fine with because I hate overly smarky crowds that try to be too much part of the show and ruin it for everybody else.
I think that went outside of wrestling and went into how people can possibly view women. And, again, I'm no feminist by any means. I'm not sitting back and calling them sexist or anything like that. I lived in another country for a while where the things, how they treated women, how they treated minorities, completely back, like at least several decades behind us as Americans. The idea of, say, what happened with the whole, what's that guy's name from PT Pierce, and what's his name? Darren Young. How they couldn't go to, he couldn't go to another part of
Abu Dhabi
of the world because of his sexual orientation, and then on top of that, divas couldn't even go.
Well, yeah,
because they don't view women in a way that they would respect them in that role as a wrestler. Now,
but this is not a conversation to have with that, because how can you assume? You're assuming that people that were chanting that were from different countries.
I feel like everyone was chanting it, but I don't see a group of Americans starting those kind of chants. It hasn't happened. It doesn't happen.
I do if you're ignorant and stupid enough to do it.
Even on the indie level, if anything, they're championing the women. They're showing so much respect. If you get an intergender match, how uneasy it is when people start chanting like PWG. You're a big PWG fan. They're the smarkiest as it gets. They don't chant shit like that at fucking anybody, any woman that's in the ring. What's her name? Candice
LeRae?
That's the smarkiest of smark.
No.
And they do not chant that type of stuff at any woman, especially her in the ring. If anything, any guy gets heat on themselves. They're champions to us. We want, as Americans, want the divas to succeed. That's why Give Divas a Chance started, because we as
But I think the people that were chanting this are the same fuckers that thought, or that were starting this whole Give Divas a Chance thing.
I think it was mob mentality. I think that was a mob mentality. I think it was one of those things where it's like you got these group of people that start these bullshit chants, and then everyone just goes, yeah, that looks fun, let's take part, rather than not take part because people are still fucking drunk and wilding out. It's easier to be an asshole than it is to be like someone respectable in those kind of settings, right?
I suppose.
So that's all I'm saying. Like,
there's still no excuse for it, though.
It's no excuse at all. I'm not giving anyone the excuse. I'm just saying, for what it is, I have video evidence that shit don't happen because of a certain group of people that come and observe. those Divas matches. We have a whole other group of people coming in from different parts of the world that don't have that same standard of respect towards women.
I still don't buy that theory.
All right, that's what's up.
I think it was a group of Americans that did it.
All right, that's what's up.
I think your theory is totally out of whack, but
I don't think it's out of whack. I think there's no one will. I have a perspective. It's only a perspective. Like, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not trying to convince you that that's.
No, I know
point.
that, but how can you prove that the people that were chanting what they were chanting are from different countries? There's no way to do that. That's
because the people in the crowds are holding up their flags, and that's the thing. We always generalize the Raw After Mania crowd to be very international, right?
No.
We do.
I don't. No. I view the crowd after Mania, or the Raw crowd after Mania, to be the smart crowd that couldn't afford to get into Mania.
All right.
If you want to talk about an international crowd, the international crowd would be Mania, because those are always the ones where they tout as having so many people from different countries in attendance. So I think your whole theory is complete bullshit.
Well, have you ever watched a Raw from England and they do the same exact thing? Like, they don't. Hey,
but they don't disrespect the Divas. They just do their soccer chant.
Well, anyway, I don't mean. I don't want to drag on because I'm already. Yeah, it's two more things and we'll get out of here. Sandow and Ambrose. What do we do with these two? What's happening with Sandow? Like, Mizdow.
Sandow, I think what they're doing is he's showing friction with The Miz. I think they're going to lead to a match between him and he's finally going to snap, turn on The Miz, and they're finally going to feud starting at Extreme Rules.
Well, he's already snapped and turned on The Miz.
Well, okay, then I think that we're... see, that's why I don't remember some of this stuff, because Raw is 3 hours long, and it's way too freaking long. I think it's going to lead to a match at Extreme Rules, and then we're going to get Damian Sandow back, which I've been wanting for a while.
Yeah.
The Mizdow stuff was good when it first started, but it's been going on for too long.
And they've been patient with it. It's something I was talking to Jake about is like probably one of the most refined storylines there is on the card in general. Like, you go over all the storylines. The one that has been the most, developed is this one, and it's been done right. It's not rushed. I feel like if Mizdow would have won the Rumble, won that Battle Royal, then it would have been too much. Because the payoff is that he finally stands on his own too. Now, he goes into Raw and he basically still imitates The Miz, which I go like, that's kind of odd. If he's trying to break away, why is he coming out to his music? Why is he, still doing The Miz's moves? The only thing that he didn't do was the reality check, because he does that. That's probably the only move he gets when they tag team, like the knee and the neck breaker.
Yeah.
That's called reality check. You know that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
I don't care because it's The Miz. But
I know. I mean, I that's fine. But something that the discussion that me and Jake were having was the fact that I was like, well, this is not a comedy shtick anymore. And he was like, well, this is still kind of comedy shtick. I'm like, no, I don't think this is a comedy shtick anymore.
See, and I agree with Jake. Because as long as he's doing something that's not him, it's going to be seen as a comedy gimmick.
I just feel like it's gotten serious.
I don't know. There's no way.
And even the way that he attacked him, even the way that Biz attacked it,
he's taking it as a serious role to him. But as far as like a fan, like on the outside looking in, if you were to like, let's say you have a friend of yours who's not a wrestling fan, you sit them down, you watch wrestling with them. They see Damian Mizdow. What are they going to think? Man, this guy's a joke.
Well, let's say come this Monday, you sit him or her down, and they see what's going on, would they think of it as a joke then?
Yes, I do.
All right. Because I just see it. I see this as becoming less haha and more like a captivating story about a guy trying to disconnect himself with someone who had him under lock and key for a long while. And
I don't think
he's coming to grips with that independence. Like, he can't let it go yet. That's why he still came out to the Miz's music. This is why he still does the Miz's moves and even uses his finisher. Like, there's something to be said about him readjusting and still the Miz coming after him in abuse. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. But how soon do we get Sandow back?
It depends how far or how long of a program they're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a one and done, then Sandow, or we probably get Sandow back after Extreme Rules. If they go more into it, I could honestly see them doing like a match, like the final match would have a stipulation where if Sandow loses, that he can't do the Mizdow thing anymore. And that the Miz would end up beating him, which that would involve the Miz winning, which I'm not a fan of because I think the Miz is garbage. But, I mean, it would work in a way where we could finally get Damian Sandow back, and it would be a way that would make sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do a 3-match feud, have them win one apiece, and then the third match have a stipulation. There could be a stipulation on both ends, but I don't know what stipulation you could put on Miz's end where he lost. But if Sandow lost, then he could no longer do the Mizdow thing.
Well, him doing the job is him actually getting over. I mean, it would be a celebration from everyone knowing that it would suck that he lost. Obviously, he did the job, but it would be great to see him on his own. Now, does Sandow ascend
from here?
Yeah. I mean,
I would like to think so. I mean, he could make a great Intercontinental Champion. So they could do that.
Does he become the intellectual savior?
Yeah, that's what I want.
No, I think that's gone. If anything, he would just be, because here's the thing. I still remember his last match before going into like the whole Mizdow thing, and then even like the gimmick match that him and Ziggler were doing. He had this awesome match against John Cena on a Raw.
Yeah, he did, and he lost.
Yeah, he lost, but like
that was the Money in the Bank match.
Okay.
When he cashed in and he lost.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
I forgot that Sandow was actually a Money in the Bank holder.
Exactly, and that's why and then he, like, they did the whole thing where he was Mizdow, and it was just, like...
Well, before the Mizdow, he was in these dumbass matches with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, and he, like, all these gimmick matches, and then they had to basically get the Miz to have... or I can't remember how it happened, but I think the Miz basically took him under his wing.
No, well, there was no storyline to it. It was just all of a sudden he showed up with him.
Yeah.
Well, last but not least, what do we do with Ambrose right now? Now, we talk about a guy who can't win, the big one, and say Bray Wyatt. Ambrose.
Ambrose needs a repackage. I'm not buying this lunatic crap anymore, and I don't care about the guy. Ever since that TV exploded in his face, it's like, why should I give a crap about this guy? And they're not telling you why you're supposed to care. That's the problem with WWE these days, is when they were building Roman Reigns, they barely told you anything about him. We don't know enough about these characters to be able to judge whether we like them or not, unless they're like a heel like Seth Rollins, who's basically a snake. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Certain guys get great development, like Seth Rollins, and certain guys like Dean Ambrose kind of fall to the wayside, and they're not developed the way they should be. And I still don't know what Ambrose is supposed to be, aside the fact that he's the lunatic fringe and all that crap.
Well, I feel like they dropped the ball on his character, on the fact that we could get snippets of him in his normal day. Now, it could be maybe somewhat gimmicky and like in comedic sense. And that's what his character really depicts. Somebody not to be taken as seriously. Yeah, you're impressed by his antics, but not to a degree where you're thinking that he's a badass.
But to me, his antics are so over the top that I can't take him seriously. That's my main problem.
Yeah, they could scale down, but they could have done more with this story. They could have aligned him more with Rollins and continued that feud somehow. Like, he's, no matter wherever he goes, like, Dean is always a thorn in his side.
Yeah,
they did none of that stuff, and even in the match against Cena, and the way when he went down and the look in his face was something that was like, man, like, I really feel bad for this guy now, like, more than ever.
Well, and this kind of goes back to, like, remember when Seth Rollins first won the Money in the Bank, and then Dean Ambrose basically said that every time he tried to cash in, I'm going to be there.
But he didn't have
They dropped the ball on that.
But they didn't have a time machine thinking that he was going to know he was going to have his ass handed to him through a ladder either. So
yeah, that's true. But yeah, as far as Dean Ambrose goes, I mean, when the Shield was a thing, I said, like, that I thought Rollins was going to be the guy, Reigns was going to be somewhere in the middle, and then Dean Ambrose was going to be, like, at the bottom. And then when are you packing cigarettes?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm tapping your mom's.
When the Shield broke up, Dean Ambrose was very interesting to me. I thought that they were going a very good way because it reminded me of, like, a Brian Pillman-esque character.
Yep.
So I admitted to, like, a friend of mine who I watch wrestling with all the time. We've been best friends for as long as I can remember. But I told him...
I'm happy you have friends.
Shut up. I told him, I said, I admit that I'm wrong with Dean Ambrose. But that only lasted like 2 months, and then the exploding TV happened, and then I'm like, now what? Now I just don't care about the guy, because the guy's way too over the top with his craziness, and it's to the point where it's too over the top, and I just don't care, and I don't see what they're doing with it in the long term.
Well, I knew Ambrose was going to be... I'm not going to call him a wash. I think he's done something. He's become a good win, like Harper, like when you beat him, it's a good win for anyone who goes up against him. But there was like a tweet from Pat Patterson. This is as soon as the Shield was really starting to make some noise. Well, when they first started, because they made noise as soon as they showed up. But like, I don't know, it was a tweet or a collection of tweets or interview. Yeah, it was like a collection of tweets, and he was breaking down the Shield. Now, Pat Patterson's a guy, and he's in there with Dusty and P.S. Hayes. He's part of creative. And he made a tweet about, like, this one guy, look at him, like, he thinks he's a star, he's moving like the star, he's trying to garner a lot of attention, but he's not the star. There's another guy that's a star, and you'll find out in due time. He never says a name. He never says names, but you kind of figure out what they're going to say. And I knew from then, I was like, oh, man, Ambrose is fucked. Like, he's clearly talking about Roman Reigns. And it was almost like a burial. Like, all right, he's this guy, but, like, he thinks he's a star, but he's not the star. And I just took that for what it was worth. And I was like, I don't think they're going to have plans. Even from then, I go, man, I don't think they're going to have plans for him. Immediately, he's going to be the odd man out. Because I saw Rollins was like out of the three of them was the better of the wrestlers. And I thought he was going to turn face and they were going to do something with him big anyway, but as a face because he's so exciting to watch in the ring.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, like, I saw this when the Shield was together, like, a lot of people thought Seth Rollins was going to be the odd man out and be in, like, Dean Ambrose's position now because they said he wasn't really developed as far as his mic skills go.
Yeah, but that guy,
like, he did a complete 180. And, like, I've always, like, I was watching Seth Rollins when he was in Ring of Honor, and I thought he was great. Like, wrestling-wise, they didn't let him talk ever.
But Vince likes him too. I think Vince liked his ego because he showed up. I think I was listening to the Art of Wrestling, and I can't remember who he was talking to, but he was talking to someone that brought up Rollins and how
that's Colt Cabana's podcast, right?
Yeah. And the fact that
listening to.
the guy he was talking with was talking about, you know, he has such a brash ego when he went in. It was kind of hard for him to make good with the boys. And then Colt Cabana brought up the idea that was one of the biggest struggles that Rollins had when he first showed up. He couldn't make good with the boys because he knew he was better than everyone else, and that he actually had to go through some sort of social training with like a counselor to sort of break him of this huge ego that he had, that he couldn't connect with the boys in the back. Like Seth, and I think it got Vince's attention to the idea that, like, this guy doesn't give a fuck. He wants to go to the top. He doesn't care if he's not here to make friends. He's here to make money. He's here to really bring the pain. And he already has the athletic ability. He has the seasoning. Now let's tweak him to where he can be that guy. And I think, you know, that's why he ended up getting the spot that he has now, because he always thought he deserved it in the first place. And for good fucking measure, too, you know, because at Tyler Black, like, that guy was a beast, right? And now, like, you know, I don't know. He worked his ass off. He wasn't there to make friends, and he has that position now on top of his athletic ability and what he can do in the ring. I don't know. I just always, as soon as fucking Patterson put out that tweet, I just like, yep, Ambrose. But he delivered, though, you know? He really went in there and did his job, but I just think that no one really had in their mind that they were going to do anything with him but make him like a good win for the rest of the talent, i.e. Bray Wyatt. I don't know.
Yeah, like not like a jobber, but like as an enhancement guy.
Yeah, basically, and that's
like an enhancement because an enhancement talent is basically a guy that's pretty much a jobber.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't go as far as to say that like Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose are guys that are enhancement talent, because they're not.
No.
But that's pretty much, if you think about it, that's their role, but they're in like a mid-card setting.
Yeah, even like, and Harper too. I'll put Harper in there as well. Because we're supposed to come out and you're supposed to be like, oh my god, he's so crazy, blah, 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 but he just loses every fucking time. So he's like a good win, you know. And in terms of in-ring ability, he's probably one of the best on the card.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, like, Harper is my favorite wrestler, or was my favorite wrestler in the Wyatt family. But as far as like guys I care about, like from the Wyatt family, Eric Rowan is the number one guy.
Wow, you care? I'm thinking this motherfucker's getting fired.
And like I've said this on Eyes on the Ring, like as soon as like 3 months ago, I hated Eric Rowan because he's from where I am, and I would go to long story. I'm not going to get into the long story.
Yeah, because we got
really
into
long. But he used to wrestle in Minnesota under the name of Thorif, and he sucked. And I would go to his I would go to the shows. He was a champion for a rival organization that I was a part of an organization. They were a rival organization. But I used to sneak into the shows to watch his matches specifically to see how he would develop, and he sucked. So as soon as he got to the WWE, I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to last. And on Eyes on the Ring, I kept saying, this guy's not good. He's not going to go anywhere. But fast forward just 3 months later, and he's the guy I care about the most out of the Wyatt family because they've actually taken the time to develop his character enough to where I like him.
You say you have your moment with Ambrose where when the TV exploded on him, you just didn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, because it's like
but check this out. Like, what I'm saying is your Dean Ambrose and TV scenario is my Rowan and him getting pinned by the Big Show under some stairs.
See, and that wasn't that bothered me, but not as much as the exploding TV.
Yeah, but to me it's all in the same. You want to work me up, and you talk about like not giving someone like an honest fight, an honest chance to really do anything. That's why when he comes out, Rowan, it's like Cricket Wireless sponsorship because it's crickets when he walk out. And if he would at least was given that win to the Big Show, then we'd be singing a whole different tune about him right now. But that's not the case. And he's done. He's done. And he hasn't been. Have you noticed what's been happening to him?
Life.
He's been getting his ass handed to him, and like not even given a chance to even put up a fight. So like, whatever, man. They thought I thought they were gonna try to humanize him at one point to when he had that discussion with John Cena, but they never really did anything with it. And he got fired. He got taken off TV. And then this shit, like, dude, like fuck this, like that's. He's a thing of the past, and I wouldn't be surprised within the next week or so when they do the whole future endeavors sort of run through that he's going to be one of those guys.
No, he's not.
We'll see. But let's wrap this up, man. Just
a side note. Someone just tweeted a picture. Someone on Raw, there was a fan in attendance, and they had a sign for Randy Orton, and it said "Apex Child Predator." So I just wanted to throw that one out there. Oh, that's
not good. That's horrible. Well, check this out.
It made me laugh.
Well, check this out. Let's go ahead and wrap this up because it's almost 2 hours worth of conversation. Go ahead and get your plugs in, dude, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, so you can follow me at Headliner5. That's the number 5. You can follow at Eyes on the Ring, at Eyes on the Ring. Follow Elite Podcast Network at Elite Podcast Net. Check out everything on eyesonthering.com. Go to darts.spreadshirt.com to pick up the Eyes on the Ring gear. Also, blogtalkradio.com/Elite Podcast Network, Stitcher Elite Podcast Network, and Facebook.com/Eyes on the Ring. Also, there is a shirt for sale via... give me a second. I need to find it. It's on teespring.com, and if you go to teespring.com/Lucha, Lucha 4CR, there's a shirt on sale. The way Teespring works is you have to hit a minimum, and if you don't hit the minimum, the shirts do not get made. So there's 4 sold towards the goal of 15, and there's 20 days to hit the goal. So if the goal does not get hit, the shirts do not get made, but Billy from 4CR wants the shirts made, so I figured I would throw out a plug just so people know that it's there, so that if you want a shirt that's pretty damn cool looking, go to that URL and pick one up. And like I said, if the goal is not made, you don't get the shirt, but you don't get paid, or you don't have to pay the money.
Okay.
So, just an FYI to all the listeners out there.
All right, so check this out. It's always good to have you on, Nate, and we'll be talking again in 2 weeks. For those that are listening, again, this PJTW Central, you can find him, Headliner 5. That's HEADLINER, the number 5. Headliner 5. For Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling Central, go back and listen to the NXT review that is Faster Than the World podcast. That's Jake and Fritz. Go back and listen to Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. We do a review of WrestleMania 31 and also Raw After WrestleMania, which is Raw San Diego. Go back and check out the pilot to Dang We Love Divas by Alexa Feldman. And also check out a whole bunch of other stuff. Check out previous conversations with me and Nate, and so on and so forth. Nate's, all the stuff, I'm gonna post all, if you're interested, in the description box. All his information will be there. Is there anything I'm leaving out? Oh yeah, and tomorrow there will be a Peter Talks SmackDown review posted. So a lot to listen to. Go check out Eyes on the Ring Radio. Check out the, what is it called? The Elite
Podcast Network. Follow them at Elite Podcast Net. You can get all the information there.
Yeah, and listen to them. Listen to them. Great roundtable discussions.
EyesOnTheRing.com.
Great.
Has all the stuff that you need.
Yeah, great roundtable discussions that they do. And
also, for those of you that didn't, or that noticed, or Peter, you might have noticed, I did not tweet Raw from my account on Monday. I was over at the Eyes on the Ring account, so there's going to be times when my tweets are located over there. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Raw and stuff like that, go follow them.
Okay. All right, so let's call it's 2 hours right on the head. So if you gotten this far, thank you so much for listening. On behalf of Nathan Neumann, a.k.a. Headliner 5, I am Peter. Thank you for listening, and we'll check you out next time.